Story 1. I wish I had taken my schoolwork more seriously, and I wish I had broken up with my high school girlfriend sooner. That girl really affected my mental health. Story 2. I was taken out of school in 8th grade, so I did not attend high school. The thing I would change is that I went at all. Story 3. I wish I had stood up for myself and not taken so much from the arrogant people I went to school with. High school was difficult. Story 4. I wish I had made friends by being quirky instead of through drugs. I probably would have developed useful skills in life instead of wasting years getting lost. Story 5. I applied myself and lived up to my potential from kindergarten to 7th grade. Every teacher I had believed I would be something special. My family moved to a new town in 8th grade, and I disliked the town and the people there. I gave up and stopped caring. Story 6. I wish I could have had some experiences. I was unaware that there were girls interested in me. Story 7. I wish I had been nicer to people and less judgmental. I shouldn't have bullied others. I regret not taking any music, art, or other creative classes because they were considered uncool at the time. I still remember making fun of less fortunate kids because that was the behavior of my group. I regret trying too hard to fit in with a group instead of balancing that with being an individual. Live and learn, though. Story 8. I would not tolerate bullying. Now I understand that they were cowardly, and I would have had the strength to confront them. Story 9. I wish I had worked harder on my academics and dated. I never dated because my family is strict, and I spent my time hanging out with my friends. Story 10. I wish I had tried harder and achieved better marks. I also wish I had spent less time worrying about what people thought of me and more time doing what made me happy. Story 11. I wish I had taken better care of my appearance and myself in general. Most of what I was ridiculed for was how I looked and dressed. I could have tried a bit harder. Story 12. I definitely would have taken sports more seriously. I never played any organized sports until high school, where I excelled in track and field as well as football. However, I didn't think of it until I received a letter in the mail from a small school in Ohio for football. I could have gone and received a free education, but I was just out there for the fun of it. Story 13. I used to hang out with smart kids in my advanced placement class and honors program. We wouldn't study and do community service together. Then I changed groups to those who partied a lot and cheated off me. I don't hang out with any of them now, and I feel that if I had kept my original group of friends, I would have been much better off. Story 14. In 10th grade, you had to make a decision on the direction you wanted to take. I wish I had pursued the sciences instead of business. Story 15. Knowing what I know now, I would have been more confident and asked out more girls. I had low self-esteem from being bullied when I was younger, but by my sophomore year, I had turned things around by joining wrestling, working out, and changing my appearance. After high school, I found out that there were many girls trying to get my attention. I would ask them out, but I simply thought they were being nice and overlooked their attempts to flirt with me. I missed out on many opportunities due to the mental trauma of bullying. Story 16. Take my classes less seriously. I would have gotten into my program with lower marks. I really didn't need to sacrifice sleep for a few extra percentage points. Story 17. I took my studies seriously and sought help for subjects I didn't understand. I balanced my friendships and studies without working while attending school. Story 18. I was too afraid of not getting a good education that would lead to a highly paid career, so I took subjects like chemistry and physics instead of art and drama. Nobody told me how little high school mattered, and I was worried I would be homeless if I received a D in chemistry. If I had known that it meant nothing, I would have chosen subjects that aligned with my interests. Story 19. I wish I didn't obsess over my on and off high school relationship and our social circle. It completely distracted me from my studies and affected my mental health for a while. I could have been a college athlete or received a full scholarship for athletics or academics. I lost myself in him. If I could have done it differently, I would have allowed myself to spend time with the creative theater students who inspired me, stayed in sports, and focused on my academics. Story 20. If I could go back, I would focus less on just getting good grades and more on actually understanding and enjoying what I was learning. I would definitely stress less about things that felt like a big deal at the time but really did not matter in the long run. Story 21. I had more relationships. I was focused on being the good guy and missed out on many opportunities with women who were interested in me. Story 22. I have a different perspective in this community. I wish I had more experiences and enjoyed my time in school more. No one cares what your grade point average was in your career. Story 23. Developed good study habits. Relying on minimal and last-minute effort in advanced classes left me unprepared for when that method became insufficient in college. From comments on Reddit, I have learned that this is a common experience, and I try to warn younger students about what is coming. Story 24. I wish I had allowed myself to breathe. I was involved in extracurricular activities, advanced placement courses, and concurrent credit programs. I participated in band, striving to excel there as well. I took accelerated classes, engaged in volunteer work, participated in sports, and attended summer school to take more electives. The only rest I would get was when my body and mind would fail, and I would pass out. Passing out at school became normal for me because I was working so hard and had nothing left to give. I wish I had allowed myself to live instead of constantly working. Story 25. I was in a class one time doing a group project with two people. One kid was a popular football player, let's call him Jim. The other was a kid who got bullied regularly, let's call him Alex. Throughout the entire group project, Jim was bullying Alex. It was relentless and cruel. He picked on him, hid his belongings, threw things at him, and called him names. I tried to keep everyone focused on the task, but Jim just kept going. After a full week of this, Alex turned around and said, "If you don't stop, I'll kill you." 2 days later, Alex was suspended for a week for making a threat. I said absolutely nothing. I didn't tell anyone about the bullying, and Jim never faced any consequences. I wanted the popular kids to like me, so I kept my mouth shut. On that day, I realized I was as bad as Jim, and if I could go back, I would handle it differently. Story 26. I should have tried harder my freshman year and the first half of my sophomore year. I kind of skated by and ended up paying for it later. It all worked out. I have a degree and a job in a field I love, but I didn't do myself any favors at the beginning. Story 27. I should have had more compassion for my teachers. Those individuals with their failed marriages and outdated knowledge brought their anger and fears into our classroom. Story 28. If I had not taken the advanced mathematics and science programs and had just taken regular classes with everyone else, I would have been better off. I only enrolled in those programs because my mother encouraged me to, but I couldn't handle the workload and my grades averaged between a B and a C. I took 6 classes a semester instead of the usual 4. Eventually, I decided to pursue art. Looking back, I wish I had taken art in high school. Unfortunately, students in the advanced program could not take art or music because those subjects occupied valuable slots. I did end up taking music later in high school, squeezing it into my elective choices. Honestly, I didn't realize how passionate I would become about art later on. My first art class was at university, and I struggled significantly. I still face challenges with it. It feels like I have developed too many mistakes and bad habits over the years that I can't seem to unlearn. I wish I had started earlier. Story 29. When I was a 15-year-old freshman in high school, the switch from middle school to high school was incredibly stressful for me. I felt lost in this new environment with many more students and without the people I knew from before. I soon started developing school phobia and would spend most of my time in class with my arms crossed against my body, folded in two, sweating with intense stomach pain, counting every second, waiting for the class to end. For some reason, I felt it especially during math class, and my grades took a quick nosedive as it was literally impossible for me to focus. Nobody cared or understood that something wasn't right with me, and I was labeled as a student who was bad in science, despite always liking math until that point. This led me to completely give up on math and science to focus on literature and languages since those were the classes where I felt better. Today, I wondered what would have happened if things had gone differently and if I had the opportunity to fulfill my potential in science and have some guidance and support during that time. Story 30. I wish I had stood up for myself more instead of simply doing what I was told and enduring to the end. Story 31. I wish I were more outgoing. I was pretty shy and quiet during the first 2 years. I opened up a bit in my junior and senior years. I know a lot of people from school now, and we are friendly. Story 32. Oh, so much. The biggest thing is to just care. Do my homework, don't skip classes, and have a clear plan for college. I barely graduated and just existed for a while before I took an interest in community college. Things turned out all right in the end, but my life might have been very different if I had gone straight to university. Story 33. I took my studies seriously and achieved good grades with a GPA of 3.8. I had a great time in high school but did not make solid plans for my future. I moved from Italy to the United States at the age of 14 with my mother and an American stepfather who lacked ambition and focused only on living life. Growing up in Italy, I didn't realize what it takes to be successful here and did not have proper role models. Now, I consider myself successful as an adult, but I could have achieved even more if I had planned properly from the beginning. Story 34. I don't have any regrets, but seeing some of these comments about being a doormat and not standing up for themselves is frustrating. I fought a guy and then had to watch my back for the next 4 years. Not being a pushover only attracted more enemies, and I was trying to avoid another charge. The charge from my fight was dropped only because the guy wanted to confront me. I would not take the risk of a charge again once I realized the situation was becoming serious. I had fought in elementary and middle school too, but it never registered until high school. Story 35. The exact opposite of the top comments. I wish I had relaxed, taken fewer advanced placement classes, and been easier on myself regarding grades. It mattered a lot less than I thought, and the stress was unbearable to the point that it still affects me more than a decade later. Story 36. I would actually choose the other high school I could have attended and select the extracurricular activities I could have been involved in. Story 37. I enjoyed it more. I can't fully explain why or how I feel, but those were great years that passed quickly. This applies to childhood as a whole. Story 38. I had standardized test scores in the 99th percentile. My grade point average, however, was not impressive. Additionally, I was not obsessed with unattainable girls, often overlooking some truly remarkable ones. Looking back, there were a couple who were genuinely interested in me, but I was too focused on someone else to notice. Story 39. This thread. Studied harder. Learned more. Partied less. Here is your public service announcement. Your brain will never get any younger. You'll never have the chance to study for free again. It's easy to party when you're around hundreds of people every day. After college, that number drops significantly. So hit the books and make the most of your time. Story 40. I went to someone and confessed that I was terrified of going to college and just needed some direction. My high school grades were wonderful. Instead, I didn't apply to anything, attended a community college without any clue about what I wanted to do, disliked it, didn't care, and skipped half the time. I received terrible grades and couldn't transfer to a decent school if I wanted to. At that time, I was so scared of the change that I couldn't even admit it to myself, let alone share it with anyone. It is the biggest regret of my life. Story 41. I wish I had started antidepressants earlier instead of in my early 20s. It would have contributed to much more growth at a younger age. Now, I feel so set back. Story 42. I took my first SAT attempt early in my junior year. There are too many standardized tests to perform well on. Story 43. I wish I had listened to the teachers. I did not, but it ended up okay anyway. For all young people, I would say please don't be mean to your teachers. Story 44. I should have been more assertive with my Spanish teacher when she accused me of being late, even though I had been in my seat 5 minutes before the bell rang. Story 45. I wish I had attended more school events. Those are the experiences you remember, not sitting at a desk listening to a lecture. Story 46. I wish I had taken my personal appearance more seriously, and I wish I had been more focused on getting a driver's license and a car. I was more interested in video games, but I was also envious of the guys who had girlfriends, not considering that I dressed poorly and barely bothered to get a haircut. I also wasted many years not driving, and it hurts to think about it. If I had had a car, I would have been able to get a job, and my quality of life would have been so much better. I wasn't a great student, but I believe I am fluent enough in the day-to-day things you need to know. So far, 20 years later, I have not needed to know much about chemistry, so I'm not too upset that I struggled with that class. Story 47. My parents always managed to portray themselves as trying their best with a rebellious teenager. In reality, they were emotionally abusive and controlling. I had no friends because they controlled everything. I was constantly pursuing relationships, as I saw getting married right after high school as my only way out. Now at 40, my mother has passed, and I don't speak to my father or siblings. I am still struggling. Story 48. Actually, try to engage in extracurricular activities such as sports or joining a band. I spent too much of my free time playing games instead of building relationships with others. Story 49. I wish I dated less. I wish I didn't spend so much time directing my attention, sexuality, and love toward people in hopes they would return it. I learned a lot from those experiences, and at the time, it felt like I had no other option. However, I wish I had stayed friends with many of those individuals. It is flattering and boosts my ego when people reciprocate love and almost obsession for me, but it can lead to losing friendships, and feelings can become territorial and complicated. I still flirt often, and I want to stop. I am working on it. I tend to lean on people romantically and struggle to give myself what I provide to others and hope to receive in return. I wish my high school experience hadn't revolved around boyfriends. Story 50. Many girls after high school said I had a chance at one point, but I was too shy or scared to ruin a friendship, so I never pursued anything. Story 51. I stayed sober, signed up for some clubs, and took an apprenticeship. Did I mention that I should have stayed sober? Basically, I listened to all my friends and teachers instead of my curious mind. Story 52. I followed my love of cars and tinkering and did not let myself doubt my abilities, despite being told I was the less intelligent child among my siblings. I later realized this was to keep me home as an unpaid babysitter. I left home at 18 and never looked back, but I was affected for so long that I never explored my skills until it was too late. Story 53. I wish I had run track all 4 years. I joined the track team my senior year for something to do after school, went to state in 2 events, and ended up walking on to a smaller Division I track team. I can't help but think about what could have happened if I had run all 4 years and seriously trained for it. Story 54. Everything. I wish I had known myself back then, instead of seeking approval from people I don't care about today. They don't care about me either. I tried so hard to be their friend, and today we don't even say hello at the bar. Story 55. Nothing I could change would alter the options of the authority figures of that time. However, I would definitely have more evidence against them. Story 56. I have taken football more seriously and followed through with attending college. I don't mind the money I am making now, but I would likely be more physically active if I had chosen the original career path I wanted to pursue. Story 57. I am not as concerned about grades. I realize that college is not the right path for me. I am focusing on things like art, writing, and athletics. I have developed more refined skills and hobbies. Most importantly, I understand that life will not be as challenging and demanding as school was. I will have choices, space, and freedom. I should have been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and autism much earlier. Story 58. I wish I had attended a different school. The principal was difficult and gave some students special treatment. There was a noticeable case of tall poppy syndrome. Story 59. Maybe I should have applied myself more and been more social, staying away from drugs. Otherwise, I'm glad it's over. Story 60. I have not engaged in any romantic encounters and have not overlooked anyone's advances because I believed I had a chance with one specific person. I have taken better notes. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.